Claude Opus 4.7 just dropped. 13% coding lift on Anthropic's hardest benchmark, 70% on CursorBench, up from 58%. 3x higher vision resolution, 1/3 fewer tool errors, a new xhigh effort level, and it's the same price as Opus 4.6. This is what Anthropic's been building. Claude Opus 4.7 launched today, April 16, 2026, and it's generally available across Claude products, the API, Amazon Bedrock, Google Cloud Vertex AI, and Microsoft Foundry. The model ID is Claude Opus 4.7. Pricing is unchanged from Opus 4.6, $5 per million input tokens, $25 per million output tokens. Anthropic describes it as delivering stronger performance across coding, agents, vision, and multi-step tasks, with greater thoroughness and consistency on the work that matters most. The improvements hit every dimension that matters for professional use. Coding gets measurably better on the hardest tasks. Vision goes from limited resolution to genuine high-resolution understanding. Agent workflows produce fewer errors and handle longer chains. And a new effort level gives you more control over the quality-speed trade-off. The update also ships with Claude Code improvements, a new Auth Ultra Review command, auto mode extended to max users, and task budgets entering public beta. One important caveat: Opus 4.7 follows instructions more literally than previous models, which means your existing prompts might behave differently and could need retuning. Anthropic published a migration guide for moving from Opus 4.6. Let's look at the official blog post from Anthropic. The announcement leads with the 4 pillars of improvement: coding, agents, vision, and multi-step tasks. What's notable is how Anthropic frames this release, not as a revolutionary leap, but as a targeted, measured improvement across every dimension that professional users care about. The benchmark tables show consistent gains across finance, law, coding, terminal operations, office tasks, and long context performance. This is the production model. Anthropic positions it as the reliable workhorse, while Mythos Preview remains their limited release model with advanced cybersecurity capabilities. The coding improvements are the headline numbers. On Anthropic's internal 93-task coding benchmark, their hardest evaluation, Opus 4.7 delivers a 13% resolution lift over Opus 4.6. That means problems that Opus 4.6 couldn't solve, Opus 4.7 handles. 4 specific tasks were resolved that neither Opus 4.6 nor Sonnet 4.6 could complete. These are genuinely novel capabilities, not just marginal improvements on tasks the model was already close to solving. CursorBench, the benchmark for AI performance in IDE environments, jumps from 58% to 70%. That's a 12-point absolute improvement in how well Claude works inside your code editor, which directly translates to better autocomplete, better refactoring suggestions, and better code generation in Cursor and similar tools. On Rakuten xhigh Bench, which tests real-world production software engineering tasks, Opus 4.7 resolves 3x more tasks than Opus 4.6. This is the benchmark that matters most to engineering teams. It uses actual production code bases and real issues, not synthetic test cases. Big Law Bench shows 90.9% accuracy at high effort, and the Finance Agent evaluation hits state-of-the-art performance. These domain-specific benchmarks confirm that the coding improvements don't come at the expense of reasoning in specialized fields. The vision upgrade is architecturally significant. Opus 4.7 accepts images up to 2576 pixels on the long edge, roughly 3.75 megapixels. That's more than 3x the resolution support of prior Claude models. This matters for practical use cases: technical diagrams that were previously too detailed to parse, chemical structure diagrams where bond angles matter, architectural blueprints where fine text needs to be readable, and screenshots where small UI elements need to be identified. At 3.75 megapixels, you can send a full HD screenshot and Claude can read every element in it without the image being downscaled to the point where details are lost. The enhanced multimodal understanding extends beyond just resolution. Anthropic specifically calls out improvements in understanding chemical structures and technical diagrams, suggesting targeted training data investment in scientific and engineering visual content. For developers building vision-powered applications, this means fewer workarounds for image quality limitations and more reliable extraction of information from complex visual inputs. Agent capabilities get a 14% improvement on complex multi-step workflows, the kind of tasks where Claude needs to plan a sequence of tool calls, execute them in order, handle errors gracefully, and maintain context across dozens of steps. Tool errors drop by 1/3 compared to Opus 4.6. This is arguably the most impactful improvement for Claude Code users. Fewer tool errors means fewer failed attempts, fewer retries, and more reliable end-to-end task completion. When your agent needs to read files, edit code, run tests, fix failures, and commit the result, each step where tool errors decrease compounds into significantly higher overall success rates. Loop resistance is improved. Previous models could occasionally get stuck repeating the same action when encountering unexpected results. Opus 4.7 handles these situations more gracefully, breaking out of unproductive loops and trying alternative approaches. Implicit need detection is better. The model more consistently recognizes when it needs to take an action that wasn't explicitly requested, but is necessary for completing the task, like installing a missing dependency before running tests, or creating a directory before writing a file. Opus 4.7 introduces a new xhigh effort level, positioned between high and max. Claude Code's default has been raised to xhigh for all plans, which means out of the box, Claude Code now runs at a higher quality setting than before. The effort level system now has 5 tiers: low, medium, high, xhigh, and max. Anthropic recommends starting with high or xhigh for coding tasks, scaling up to max only when you need the absolute best quality and are willing to wait longer. There's also a Tokenizer update that's important to understand from a cost perspective. The updated Tokenizer improves text processing quality, but the same input text may map to 1.0 to 1.35x more tokens depending on content. This means your API costs could increase by up to 35% on some inputs, even though the per token price hasn't changed. Anthropic recommends measuring token usage changes on real traffic before committing to production migration. The model also produces more output tokens at higher effort levels, particularly on later turns in agentic settings. So multi-turn coding sessions will use more tokens than the same task on Opus 4.6. Anthropic says the net effect is favorable on their internal evaluations. You're paying more tokens, but getting substantially better results. Claude Code ships with several Opus 4.7 specific updates. The new xhigh Ultra Review /command starts a dedicated code review session. Pro and Max users get 3 free Ultra Reviews included. Auto mode, previously limited to certain plans, is now extended to Max users. And task budgets, letting you set spending limits on individual tasks, enter public beta across the platform. The stricter instruction following in Opus 4.7 is worth emphasizing for Claude Code users specifically. If your Claude.md files or custom instructions contain nuanced or ambiguous directions, Opus 4.7 will interpret them more literally. This is generally a positive change. It means Claude does what you actually wrote, not what it infers you meant. But it could cause unexpected behavior if your instructions relied on the model reading between the lines. Anthropic published a migration guide specifically addressing how to adapt prompts from Opus 4.6 to 4.7. Safety-wise, Opus 4.7 has a similar profile to Opus 4.6, with improvements in honesty and resistance to prompt injection. Anthropic notes one modest weakness: slightly more detailed harm reduction advice on controlled substances, but overall describes the model as largely well-aligned and trustworthy, though not fully ideal. The Mythos preview model remains the best aligned in their lineup. Cybersecurity capabilities are intentionally less advanced than Mythos preview, with automatic safeguards that detect and block high-risk cybersecurity requests. A new cyber verification program lets legitimate security researchers, penetration testers, vulnerability researchers, and red teamers access unrestricted cybersecurity capabilities after verification. Availability is broad from day one. The API, Amazon Bedrock, Google Cloud Vertex AI, and Microsoft Foundry all have Opus 4.7 available immediately. The context window is unchanged from Opus 4.6 at 1 million tokens. For teams considering migration, Anthropic recommends testing prompts thoroughly, measuring token usage changes, and using the published migration guide to adapt any instructions that rely on implicit interpretation. That's Claude Opus 4.7, Anthropic's new flagship with 70% CursorBench, 3x vision resolution, 1/3 fewer tool errors, and xhigh effort as the new default. Same price, better across every dimension. Announcement link in the description. Subscribe to Prism Labs for every major AI model drop.